Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking through the books I read in November and December. I've put it off for a while because really I had an idea that I would stop doing the monthly wrap-ups and I would just every once in a while walk you through everything I had read. Let me turn off my coffee maker. Okay. So I had an idea on my channel that I would stop doing the monthly wrap-ups and instead I would just film every once in a while what I had been reading without the forethought of thinking. I read quite often, so that's a lot of books, and then by the end of December it had gotten ahead of me and I realized how much time it would take to film the video and I just thought, forget it, but the time has come. It is a fresh year, so I have to leave off 2020 where it belongs, which is in the garbage. In saying that, I actually had 2 very good reading months. So without further ado, I'm going to wrap up what I read in November and then move on to December. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is I read Sally Rooney's Conversations with Friends. I read that from my local library that is currently open for curbside pickup. I enjoyed it a lot better than I did Normal People. And I have heard that if you enjoy Normal People, you won't enjoy Conversations with Friends or vice versa. And I tend to fall in that category actually. Normal People was just not for me. Conversations with Friends I found a lot more entertaining. The female-female dynamic I thought was really fun, the friendship and romance within it. And I really liked the ambiguous note that it kind of left on. I just felt it was a lot more messy and realistic, which relationships tend to be, so I enjoyed that one. Then I read Homebody by Rupi Kaur, book 3 in her trilogy of poetry, or I should say series, but they all melt together really well. I've spoken about this at length with my favorites of the year, so I really enjoyed it. I love Rupi Kaur, period. I got the signed edition and I did wind up rereading this month anyway, but read it in November, really enjoyed it. Next, I read, that is quite the glare. Next, I read The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, book 1 in the Bone Season series. I know book 4 is coming out this month, so I started it November, enjoyed it. And again, this is just a book from my local library. And I really liked it. I didn't know much about it at all besides Samantha Shannon wrote it. And I really liked Priory of the Orange Tree, but I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed it. It's really fun. Then I read Mexican Gothic, which I do believe I spoke about already. So if you like sort of classic Gothic literature, I think you'll really enjoy this. It's definitely, I believe, going to be, or has been, I haven't really seen a ton of reviews on it, but a very polarizing read, just because I think it falls on a lot of classic Gothic tropes, and if you don't really like that and you like more modern adaptations of what Gothic has transformed into within literature, this probably will not be the book for you. But if you can appreciate classic Gothic tropes or genuinely still enjoy reading classic Gothic, then you will probably like this. Also, I just realized I haven't summarized any of these books and I probably won't, unless I think it's worth it. But all of these are quite popular anyway. Then I read Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This was really, really fun. It was one of my favorite reads of the month, actually. Naomi Novik, I hadn't really delved into anything of hers in quite a while, and this was a first-time read for me, and I was pleasantly surprised. My ultimate goal being to read this in November, Spinning Silver in December, which I did do, and Uprooted definitely was my favorite of the 2. I really liked our protagonist, and I really liked the dragon in this. I thought he was loads of fun. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. And last, and I put it last on the list mindfully, was The Boneshard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. I wanted to put this last because this is one I will take a bit of time with. I really enjoyed this book and I picked it up on a whim. I knew nothing about it. I just saw it was new at my work and I liked the cover. Didn't even read the flap on the inside. I just picked it up while I was on lunch, started to read it and couldn't put it down, so I bought it and have not looked back. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm anticipating the second one. I believe this is a debut from the author, and it is blurbed on the front by Sarah J. Maas. But in saying that, if you're not a fan of Sarah J. Maas, I wouldn't let that deter you from this. It is very unto itself different than her work, whereas I might suggest from Blood and Ash, if you like Sarah J. Maas, I wouldn't necessarily say that about this one. This stands by itself very well as a singular work of fantasy, but it is going to transform into a series and I cannot wait for that. We follow multiple perspectives in this new fantastical world as the shards of bones are used to create creatures and perform magic, and it is a very desolate country. There is poverty, there is extreme high class, and it is very, very good. I don't want to say anything because I went into it completely blind and it was really to my benefit. I wound up enjoying every single page. So if you have not read it already, I really would suggest this one. That's my November. I actually didn't read a bunch in November, I am sorry to say. But the books I did read, I enjoy. But I just didn't read a bunch. So for the month of December, I read The Lightning Thief, book 1 in the Percy Jackson series. I'm doing a little bit of a reread. I haven't read these since I was a kid, but I know there is a show coming out, an adaptation, and I want to have the series fresh in my mind before I watch that. So I read book 1, I enjoyed it, it made me laugh. I can almost like vividly remember reading this when I was younger, which is kind of fun. Like I can remember exactly sitting in my bedroom on my bed, flipping through the pages. Like it's a very vivid memory for some reason, which is also kind of fun to go back now that I'm 27 and read something like this. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I'll be reading the rest in the series hopefully before the show comes out, but just meandering through it and enjoying the reread. It was a lot funnier than I remembered. It was really, really funny. Next, I read The Fires of Vengeance, which is book 2 in the Burning Saga or series. I'm not sure how many there's going to be. I loved this one. I actually wound up liking this one more than the first. I thought Tao's development within this was so interesting. So in the first one, where he is singularly set upon revenge and exacting it, and there's very few consequences for his short-sightedness. There's very few real consequences that he has to deal with in book 1 for his short-sightedness and his sort of blinded revenge. Whereas in Fires of Vengeance, we have to see some of the repercussions of his actions, and he has to come to terms with some of them. And even though I don't think he grows extremely as a character in these books, I almost find that more intriguing, if that makes sense. The stubbornness that this character shows is fascinating to me. But in saying that, we also get the world grows a little bit. The political sphere has changed. So there's enough change within the story that it doesn't feel like Tao is stuck in the same place and you as a reader are stuck in the same place. It's more the circumstances have changed, and is Tao going to change with them? And read it to find out, because I will not spoil it. But I personally fall in the camp of this was much better than the first one. And I loved the first one, so that should say something. Next, I read Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I did vlog this, so I won't speak about this ad nauseum, but it is a Arthur and the Round Table readaptation. It's fun, it's young adult. It was probably my favorite teen book that I read last year, but it was so fun. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it tackled a lot of real world issues as well as intertwining it with fantastical fun that makes it very digestible as a conversation for teens to have. I thought it was so clever, so fun. I liked the characters, but most importantly, the protagonist was a riot. She was great. It's so fun to be in her perspective, in her head, and I would 10 out of 10 recommend this for anyone who is looking for a new young adult series to start. This is book 1, and I believe book 2 is coming out later this year. Whew. 12 minutes, that's not bad. I'm almost done. Next, I read Spitting Silver by Naomi Novak. This was my part 2 in the Naomi Novak reading that I had planned for my end of the year, and I will say I liked Uprooted better, but I still enjoyed Spinning Silver. I absolutely devoured the book. I read it in about 2-ish days. I realize my lighting looks a bit weird. I should have closed this blind. That's okay. Yeah, I definitely liked Uprooted a bit better, but that's not to say I didn't enjoy this. Still ate it up, still had lots of fun. She's very good at storytelling in a very intentional way. Both of these books read as classical fairy tales, lots of fun with a very slight modern adaptation for these. This one really reminded me a lot of Catherine Arden's The Bear and the Nightingale, Girl in the Tower, and made me want to reread them, which I'm planning on doing maybe this month or maybe next month. So it was very reminiscent of that. If you enjoyed those, you might enjoy this one as well. But I kind of liked the Bear and the Nightingale series a little bit more. So take that as you will. I know some people that like this more though, so that's just my humble opinion, but it is my channel, so. Does that make me right? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Very quickly, we will zoom through. I reread The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I have started my Stormlight Archive reread before I read Rhythm of War, so I'm currently on Words of Radiance. Reread The Way of Kings, really enjoyed The Way of Kings. Oh, it brought me right back to all of the characters. Sometimes when you're so far in a series, you kind of forget where you meet the characters and how far they've come within a series, and that's exactly the feeling I got when I started my reread here. I forgot what everyone was like and how, not two-dimensional, but how like basic the characters were and how Sanderson has led us on this journey. So they're so three-dimensional by the time you get to book 3 that like you start book 2 and you start book 1 and everyone's just like babies. It's just like right back to where they started. If you can't tell, I really enjoyed it. And I'm currently on Words of Radiance and loving the reread. Next, I read the Well of Ascension, which is book 2 in the Mistborn series 1. And it was good. I liked it. I definitely enjoyed the first one more. The things he did right in this, he definitely raised the stakes. He expanded the characters. Well, he didn't expand our list of characters. Well, he did. We grew with the characters we currently know, and we were also introduced to a couple of new intriguing characters. I really liked this, and it would be a 4.5 out of 5 stars. So let's not take what I'm saying as I didn't like it, but I definitely enjoyed the first one more, which would be a 5 out of 5 star read with me. And it is purely subjective because I'm 100% sure the only reason this isn't a 5 star is because of Kelsier. So take that as you will. It's a bad reason to not rate it a perfect rating because it's something so subjective that I know was necessary for the first book, but I still am upset about it. So this doesn't get a 5 star rating from me, but I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. I loved the ending. It was super interesting, and I'm currently reading book 3 and enjoying it as well. I feel bad. Can you see? I feel guilty for not giving this 5 stars, but I can't. The book 1 was 5 stars. I can't. Next, we have the Mime Order, which is book 2 in the Bone Season series. I don't know what the series is called. Anyways, I enjoyed this more than book 1 actually. I had a lot of fun with it. I love the characters. I love the world. It's very like urban fantasy, maybe urban sci-fi. I'm not exactly sure if this would fall along sci-fi or fantasy, or maybe like a nice little like pot of two. I'm not sure, but it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. Currently reading book 3 and very excited for book 4 to come out. And I'm not even done book 3. So lots of fun. And the last book that I left off the list so I could talk about it last was, of course, The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. Sorry if you can hear my guinea pigs running around. I really, 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 really loved this series. If you watched my favorites of 2020, it was tied as one of my favorite books of the year. I loved it. Book 1, 2, and 3 kept me so enraptured the entire time, even when I was just like disgusted or shocked or almost couldn't continue. I knew I had to because I loved the characters so much. I loved the story R.F. Kuang was telling. She is so talented. For Poppy War to be her debut novel, I almost can't believe it because she is so talented and such a natural storyteller. She was able to connect us with characters that you don't even necessarily like, but you're still invested in, which is a very, very difficult, I can imagine, thing to do for an author. And she did it in spades, and she did it so naturally. It didn't feel like any character was forced upon us. And I just loved this series so much. I probably will not reread it for a little while yet because it was so emotionally taxing, but I really did enjoy myself while reading it. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Fun is the wrong word. Was it fun? I don't know. So that is it for what I read in the months of November and December. I think I'm gonna go back to what I read monthly because this is just so long. I'm sweating, but I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic week and or weekend wherever you are in the world, and you are all staying safe. I will see you in my next video.